You're tuned in to the Dr. Kinney Show, and I'm your host, Dr. Erin Kinney, a naturopathic doctor and speaker dedicated to unraveling the mysteries of your body and guiding you back into balance. Let's get started. Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of the Dr. Kinney Show. This week, I'm super pleased to have joining me Joe Hoye, who is the owner of Hoye Fit and the host of the largest summit to date for women in midlife and beyond. So Joe, thank you so much for being here. I'm excited to hear about the summit, hear about your journey, and hear about how you're helping women.
Yeah, thank you. And thanks for having me on. I'm honored, really.
Yeah. So start by sharing kind of your journey and how you got into the space.
Yeah. So you're telling me you want to understand why a 30-year-old man helps women 40, 50, and 60?
Yes, I would.
I guess I can explain that. So it all kind of starts when I was 13 years old. And growing up, I had my strongest and most consistent role model was my mom. And then my dad was in the picture too, great role model, but just there less. And so I was looking up to my mom 24/7. They were split. My mom had gotten in a new relationship. I had two stepbrothers. Sometimes they were in the house. Sometimes they were at their other parents. And at 13 years old, my mom saw that I was going down a bad path. I was starting to hang with the wrong kids, do the bad things, and that path was going to take me nowhere I wanted to be long term. And she saw that. And I was also one of the tall, skinny, straggly kids that just was like awkward and goofy and unathletic and not really good at school. And so going down a bad path, also no confidence. And I was picked on by my brothers and my friends, and it really got to me. And so she's like, Joe, I'm kind of putting two and two together here. She didn't say this, but this is what I think she was thinking. And number one, you don't have much confidence. You don't have a whole lot of love for your body or yourself. And number two, you're going down a bad path. So I want to bring you to the gym. And she invited me to go one night with her after homework and after work and after dinner. And I took her up on it. And the day that I walked in that gym, I fell in love with it. And that was really the massive turning point for how I got into this and the direction I went on from there. And so from the age of 13 to 18, I was going to the gym consistently, 5, 6, 7 days a week. I had no idea what I was doing, but I knew I wanted to get bigger, knew I wanted muscles, just like all the magazines and the comic books had. And I couldn't do it. And I continued to get picked on. But it changed from my brothers and my friends to people that were doing it in a malicious way. And it really got to be extremely negative to the point of me getting pushed down 2 flights of stairs, not just going completely south. And so it just continued to build this bigger chip on my shoulder that I wanted to end it. And so I graduate high school 5 to 10 pounds heavier than I started. So I was about 145 pounds at 5'11", absolutely no confidence. And I get into college. I start pursuing a career in surgery. And so because of that, I am taking nutrition courses, kinesiology, anatomy, physiology, and really just learning what it is that the body needs to create change. And the first person I tested on was me. I was the guinea pig. But at that same time, I also discovered alcohol, partying, and treating my body like crap. And while I was going to the gym, while I was eating at a calorie surplus to gain muscle, I was also consuming a ton of alcohol, sleeping 3 to 4 hours a night, and just treating my body poorly. And so I definitely gained muscle, but I also gained a whole lot of fat. And in the span of a year to a year and a half, I gained about 80 pounds. I went from 145 up to 225. Then I had a new problem. Still not super great at school. Still no confidence. Still not good at athletics or anything like that. But instead of being skinny, I was now fat. And that's when I really dialed things in. I don't know what it was that made me say enough was enough, but something did it. And I quit the drinking, quit the partying, dialed in my nutrition, dialed in my exercise, and I got to where I wanted to be, which is where I am today, about 5'11", 190 pounds. And people started asking, because I grew up in a small town, like, Joe, how did you go from skinny to fat and having no confidence in either to now looking like you, feeling good, looking good, being athletic, and also like my mindset changed. So I start excelling in school. And enough people asked to where I figured I had something. And transparently, I thought I wanted to help people like me. Young men either lose body fat or gain muscle and become confident. So I started running these online weight loss challenges. They were 8 weeks long. And like I said, the intent was to help the past version of me. I started advertising it, marketing it in the only way I knew how, speaking the way that I speak right now. And when I opened up my first Zoom call to start coaching, I had a ton of signups, but I never looked at the names. When I opened up Zoom, the only faces looking back at me looked a whole lot more like my mom than they did me. And I was like, well, what happened? How did I get this population? And I panicked because I'd only ever helped me before. But at the end of that first coaching call, we all had fun. We were all laughing and smiling. At the end of that first 8 weeks, nearly everybody had amazing transformations. And so I rolled with it. I was like, you know what? This is fun. This is who I want to help. But I wasn't making enough money to actually do it full time. So at that point, I graduated college. I get my job in surgery. And yet again, I find myself going down this path of being pushed towards this population. So my job was to be a surgical technologist. Basically what that means in the small hospital I was in was to set up the OR for the doctor ahead of time. And then during the procedure, I was helping them do just about everything they couldn't do with their own two hands. For some reason, my boss thought it was a great idea to take me, the one man on the team out of 7, the rest of them were girls, and put him in the OB and GYN based rooms. So there I was working for the next 3 to 3.5 years on the female body alongside surgeons that had spent their entire adult career learning about that demographic. And so I was learning about it firsthand. I was also just being a sponge, taking every bit of knowledge I could from the doctors and applying it on the side after work to these clients that I was coaching. And so that's kind of my 3-part story. Number 1, I want to give back to my mom because I do want to help people like me. But I realized if I can change a mom's life, I can change the entire household. Number 2, I resonate and communicate well with that demographic and have fun with them. Number 3, I understand their body extremely well.
Super cool. Thank you for sharing all that. It's a lot. It's happened in not a very long amount of time.
I know it's a mouthful. I'm like out of breath, but it's a good story to tell.
It is. It's a great story to tell. So now you're in the space, you're helping women, and I know you just launched this really cool summit. Can you tell me a little bit more about that?
Yeah. So I think that coaches need coaches, and I have a nutrition coach. I have an exercise coach. I also have a business coach. We were talking one day after he had put on his own summit. He's like talking to a crowd of people, not just me, but he mentioned that it would be cool to see a nutrition coach put on a nutrition summit. And something just resonated and spoke to me there. And I had the idea that I wanted to host an event called the Midlife Makeover. And I wanted to be for women 40 plus to really change everything they wanted. Now, what we focus on is mindset, nutrition, menopause, exercise, changing the life that way. But I also wanted to cover everything else. And so being in this space for 6 years, I have some pretty influential friends that are also in the midlife space for women. So at first I asked them, I was like, hey, Denise, hey, Jess, would you be okay to speak at my summit and help these women? And they said yes. And that was huge because they have massive followings. So from there, I was like, well, if they said yes, I wonder who else I can get. So I started asking people that I thought would say no, but I would tell them, Jess has already signed up to speak. Denise will be here speaking. And through seeing that, they said yes. And the more people I got, the bigger names I got. And what was my first summit turned out to be what is to date the largest event for women midlife and beyond in nutrition, mindset, menopause, exercise. We had, I think it was 32 speakers. We had thousands of people show up from around the world, and God, it was fun.
I bet that was, your lineup was amazing. I remember you met, I was like, wow, that's a really great lineup of people. Great, like amazing minds that you could all go learn from. And
I'd love you to be there next year.
Yeah, well, I'm there. I feel like it's so important in the phase of midlife, obviously like the physical body is important, but I think the mindset piece, and you mentioned mindset a couple of times in your journey, is such like, without that, I feel like not much else can happen. So if your mindset is not right, and I've been actually having this conversation with my personal life coach. I work with a lot of women in midlife too. And I feel like there's this story collectively that we tell ourselves, when once you turn 40, you're going to gain weight and you're going to have this is going to happen in your hormones, or you're going to go into perimenopause and everything's going to be fucked up and all this stuff. And so women, I think, immediately assume that. And what's so funny is I just turned 40 this year. And it was like the last couple months, I've been like, oh my gosh, like am I going to start to become, I'm 40 now. Am I going to, and I've like seen myself, and I don't believe that at all. I tell my patients like, no, you don't, you can feel amazing at 40. You can get your hormones under control. You know, you can look the best you've ever looked. But because it's such a collective story, like I felt like it's kind of creeped into my mind. So anyways, it's just so interesting, the mindset thing. And I've watched my body change a little bit, and I'm like, wait a second. Right. So, but coming back to that, like reminding yourself, no, I don't have to fall into that story. Right. Like, mindset's so important, I guess is my point. It's so important.
Mindset's everything. And if you want to create a change, it happens there first, because every single thing starts with a decision. For you in that story, people could argue no, but I would argue you're making the decision to not believe that.
Yeah. Oh yeah. And you know, and I don't believe it. And belief is so interesting because like our belief systems are made up by, you know, all of the things that we've seen in life. Right. And I have the luxury of seeing women come in that feel like crap. You know, after working together, they feel amazing and they go out and they do look their best and they feel their best and they're going to go do their best work in the world. But it's funny. I also see so many women coming in that don't feel that. So it was funny just to like see that contrast. But and mindset is something you have to work at, right? Like sometimes you have to like, especially if you're seeing a similar story pop up, maybe not in yourself, but in the collective, you got to like work at making sure that that doesn't enter into your own belief system.
Absolutely. And it's easy for us to say because you and I are similar. We see women that they come to us and they feel like absolute shit, both mentally, physically, in their body, in their mind, in their day-to-day life. But then we also see the ones that we transform that can feel the complete opposite. They can feel amazing. And once you see that even one time, okay, it's
wow,
possible.
This can happen.
All I need is possible.
Yeah. Hope. It's like you just need that little ounce of hope. And I think that's one of the reasons why, you know, someone like yourself or a naturopathic doctor or anyone that kind of, you know, helps people on these amazing transformational journeys is the first thing we offer them is hope. And I think you don't get that in the Western medical space. You go in and they're like, I feel like this. And they're like, oh, no, you're just an old, tired woman. Like, go take an antidepressant and I'll see you next year. And
Especially,
there's no hope in that. There's no hope in that at all. It's like, wait, I'm depressed. I don't feel good. Like, I don't need a medicine.
Especially for the women 40 plus, because they go to their doctor and God, growing up, we're all taught that doctors are basically our superheroes. They can fix anything. And when the person that you look to that you think can fix anything and you express to them, hey, I'm going through menopause and it's really hard and I'm gaining weight in my midsection. I can't sleep through the night. I don't even feel like myself anymore. I don't know who I am. And they look at you and they say, I hear you. That's menopause. Like,
you're no. Like, wait, what? Like, I want some help through this or, yeah.
There's no hope from those people.
And it's just not true. Yes, menopause there's a major change that happens in the body. And I like tell my female patients, I'm like, hey, as a female, the only thing constant about being a female is change. Your body's going to change. Your life's going to change. Your desires are going to, things change as a female. We change every week of our 4-week cycle, right? Every week's slightly different when you're cycling. And then when you go through menopause, you just have to adapt to not having that cycle anymore. But just because you're changing doesn't mean you have to feel like crap, right? Like I think there's like a difference in that. Your body is not going to be the same as it was in your 20s. There's going to be a new you, and you might have to pick up new habits and new lifestyle. And that's kind of the things we help people with is like, hey, okay, the diet that worked for you 10 years ago might not be the thing that's going to work for you now, but we just have to find that new thing, right? And once we find the new thing, then your body can feel fantastic. And in some instances, once you get through menopause, it can be great. You don't have to get a period every month. Like there are going to be a lot of benefits to it, right?
That's what we're seeing now is honestly the second half of a lot of our clients' lives. So let's say 40, 50 plus.
Yeah.
That's the best half.
Oh yeah. Yeah. You're not, you know what you're doing. You're confident. Like you don't really care about what other people think anymore. Usually like you're in a good place in your career. You know, you built a family. Like there's a lot of good things that can come. You've got more wisdom. So yeah, it could be a fantastic part of life. As long as we get your body feeling good. Or when we get your body feeling good, I think so talk to me about like what your work looks like with women.
Yeah. So what I realized is the women we work with, so 40, 50, 60 plus, they generally didn't gain the weight overnight. They didn't gain it last week. They didn't gain it last year. They gained it after college, after they turned 30, after they had kids, after they settled down. And so if they gained that weight 5, 10, 15, 30 years ago, they've also probably been trying to lose it for that long. And how do we lose weight? We go on the quickest, easiest, most simple to find diet that is cheap and easy to access, but also not really healthy for you. You're eating 1,200 calories, 1,000 calories, 800 calories. And a lot of the ladies we work with, they don't understand that that is not how you live. Like, it's not even okay to lose weight on those numbers, but to then live on those numbers long term is not okay. And so if you track your food, or you're even slightly aware of your calorie intake, you're eating 800, 1,000, even up to 1,400 or 1,500 calories, and you're not losing weight, that's a massive problem. And so before we ever let someone enter a weight loss phase, we first need to fix their health, their metabolic health, the amount of stress they're under, and take them away from that survival state and make it so that their body's working with them. And so that's what I call our diet detox phase. It's really just detoxifying somebody's body from the damage that past diets have done. And then after that, it's really just entering fat loss in a much more sustainable, realistic, normal way.
Yeah. Yeah. And, I feel like I use this analogy on a lot of the episodes, but particularly when this comes to weight loss, I like to explain to my patients that your body is like a house. And in that house, you have your kitchen, your living room, your laundry room, your bathroom, which are like your major organs. Weight that you want to lose is like a basement closet filled with junk. To the body, it's not that important. Like, it can be at some point, but the body's like, hey, I'm going to make sure that my organs are functioning properly, my cells are functioning properly. And that people are like, okay, so, we might think it's a priority, but it's not the body's first priority. So if you've got something else going on, right, your body's not, it's going to be harder to make that weight loss a priority. So, making sure the body's in a good place. But the other thing I always ask people, like, so let's say you're running a house and you'd like to clean out that basement closet. What do you need? You need time, like uninterrupted time where you don't have people coming over. You don't have to clean the rest of the house. And you need energy. It literally takes energy to remove the crap from the closet and take it out. So if you're low on energy, if your cells are low on energy, so if your mitochondria aren't functioning properly, there's no way in hell your body's going to clean out that closet. It's just not going to happen, right? I think that's why we see so many women that are exercising like crazy, cutting calories, and some of them gain weight. And it's like the body just accumulates more stuff in the basement. It's like, oh, I can't deal with it, so I'm just going to put it in the basement, right? So you do have to get the rest of the house in order before you can go into that weight loss phase.
I don't think I've heard a better analogy.
It works so well, right? And then here's the other thing, and I'll just share this because you might want to use this with people too. I diagnose a ton of infections, Lyme disease in particular, or Epstein-Barr, chronic infections. And sometimes people can't lose weight because of those things, right? So if someone has Lyme disease, no way in hell the body's cleaning out that basement. I'm cursing lots today. Sorry. No way the body's going to clean out that basement closet, because Lyme disease is like someone trying to break into your house 24/7, which means your immune system, your nervous system is all up in arms, and it's not going to do anything else except for try to keep the Lyme from coming in. Right. So I find when people are like done all the things and they seem to be doing well, I always will test for infectious stuff because, oftentimes I diagnose a lot of Lyme. It's really upsetting because I feel like I wish I didn't diagnose it because it's a pain in the ass to deal with. But once we can clear that out, then it's so much easier for the body. It's like once you remove the invaders trying to come in, the body's like, I can finally take a break. Now I can go attack that closet.
Okay, two things. So number one, keep going, because my God, that is so perfect. Number
it's a good
two,
analogy, right?
It's a damn good analogy.
Yeah.
Number two, we're gonna have to talk off air because
we'll talk off air.
The whole Lyme disease thing is something that you can help with.
Yeah, it is a big. It's like an epidemic. I mean, it is amazing how many people I diagnose with Lyme every week, and it's not something I really wanted to get into. I love hormones. I love nutrition. I love weight loss. I love that kind of stuff. And I'm really, really good with hormones and stress and all that stuff. But I've had to become really good with infectious stuff because I find probably the number one reason that women's hormones are out of whack in their 30s and 40s are infections, which is weird, but that's what it is. And it's literally that, like, and hormones can come into that house analogy too. If you're trying to keep invaders, the body's not making sex hormones because it's super stressed out. You're not going to make, the body's like, I don't want to make a baby. I'm going to make estrogen, progesterone. We're going to make cortisol because we need that to help us with these invaders. Anyway, so, I think like, I don't know where we were going down off a tangent, but if you are trying to lose weight, I think we were talking about energy and kind of like doing that first set of your protocol. Like you have to get the body in the right state in order to get it to lose weight, because it's not going to want to do it if it doesn't have that capability to do it.
Yeah. And just in case nobody's sick of the house analogy yet, what I always say is we're literally creating a solid foundation so that number one, weight loss is possible, but number two, weight loss is simple. Yes. So yeah, I mean, I couldn't agree more.
Yeah. Yeah. And when at the end of the day, when your body's in the right frame of mind or the right space to lose weight, it is simple, right? Like it's not that hard to do. But if you're doing the things that should be working and it's not, there's something else going on that needs to be addressed first.
Absolutely. Well, the other thing that we'll see is just these misbeliefs on exercise, right? Like, God, this is a whole other conversation, but people want to lose fat, not weight.
Yeah. Yes.
But at the same time, so many of our clients are just doing endless cardio. So they're speeding up their muscle loss.
Yeah.
Not really helping a ton with fat loss. So the inverse is to get strength training. But at the same time, they're afraid because a 30-year-old man is telling them to strength train and I have a good bit of muscle and they don't want to look like me.
Yeah.
And it's really hard to say, look, at a calorie deficit, you're not going to gain muscle. Even if you do, you're not going to look like me. But I truly think, I'd love to hear your opinion. I truly think that's the foundation of youth, the fountain of youth.
Oh, 100%. I mean, if you think about it from like the insulin resistant, insulin resistance is probably one of the main reasons like women in their late 40s, early 50s have a harder time losing weight. And basically what that is, most of my listeners should already know what this is, but if you don't, your cells all have insulin receptors on them. And that's how, if once insulin binds to a cell, then glucose can come inside the cell. If you don't have enough insulin receptors, insulin can't bind, glucose can't come in, and insulin, if it sits in your bloodstream, it is a fat storage hormone. So no matter what you eat will get turned directly into fat. The more cells you have, so if you build muscle, you're going to build more cells. You will build more muscle cells, meaning you will have a higher need for glucose. That means all the glucose is going to come and your body will make more insulin receptors. So we're not going to have insulin sitting around in the bloodstream. Basically, you're going to utilize more of your calories and more of your food and more of the glucose that's coming in, the more muscle that you build. Now, I will say, and so I'm kind of going through, I've just started like lifting weights again. I haven't done it in about 10 years. And sometimes you go through a phase where you gain weight. You gain a little weight, you get a little bit bigger, but you just have to like push through that. Like, and I think this is where our culture is like, we want weight loss immediately. And so, the people like, and I honestly was thinking, I was like, damn it, I've gained, like gone up a pant size, I'm gained weight, but I'm also, I'm like, I feel stronger. I feel fantastic. My energy's better. I'm sleeping great. But honestly, that was like for a month and now I'm back down to my same size. So you kind of just have to like push through that. And I think as long as you have that mindset and you have a coach that you're working with that can be like, no, listen, just like stick with me a couple more weeks. It's going to settle out. You're going to be okay. And I don't know if you see that with some of your clients. I'm sure you do, right? There's that initial phase where you build muscle. The number might go up on the scale, but the number on the scale doesn't really matter. We're all so focused on it. The way your clothes fit is what you care about, really.
Exactly.
I mean, that's what you should. Yeah, the way you look, like that's what you should care about. I think if you get too obsessed with the number, and sometimes when you start lifting weights, you might get smaller, but your weight actually might go up, but you might look better and feel better.
Exactly.
Which, I mean, we all want to feel better, right?
Not to mention that as you gain more muscle, it's going to be easier to lose weight.
Yes, exactly.
Not to mention that as you gain more muscle, you increase your food freedom. So maybe you can maintain your weight and still
eat more.
Enjoy your wine, your chips and salsa, whatever the hell you want, and be normal.
Yeah. And for women in particular, the more weightlifting or weight bearing exercise you do, you're preventing yourself, osteoporosis. It's like so protective for so many other things. So it not only just aesthetic benefits, it also has, really good preventative medicine benefits. And the immune system. I mean, so many things. When you lifting weights is probably the best thing you can do when you hit that 40s decade. I mean, honestly, people should do it in their 30s as well. Right? Like the endless cardio is not good for anybody. Cardio 1 or 2 days a week. I mean, actually, what do you recommend in terms of cardio? Do you guys recommend cardio at all? A little bit?
I mean, yes, but we need to define what the goal is, right? It's never going to be for fat loss. It's going to be for cardiovascular health. But one thing you said is it's the number one thing people should be doing if they're 40. And then you corrected yourself. Like, you know what? You should be doing it at 30. And I would prefer that your younger listeners start
doing it now.
Tomorrow.
Yeah.
Because then you don't need to go through all these scary things we're talking about now when you get 40.
Yeah. If you keep your muscle mass in a good place. Yeah. And I think it's interesting, like I'll use myself as an example, but I know this mirrors a lot of my patients. I think women, oftentimes are in their 30s. That for most women, that can be the decade when they're pregnant, having babies. Exercise tends to kind of like, for some people can go by the wayside, right? And I think there is people are like, they need, sometimes the cardiovascular workout gives them such that energy mood boost. So they're like going to prioritize that because they're like, I got an hour away from the baby. I'm going to go on a run. That's going to make me feel better. But I think the weightlifting and this is my life, my 30s, it was kind of all about raising little kids. I would go to yoga and I would walk and that was and that was great. And I stayed in good shape. but I wasn't really building much muscle. And now I'm like, okay, I think I need to get on that. But I do wish I could go back and tell my 32-year-old self, like, hey, you should start lifting weights a little bit more. You should go back to that stuff. So I think it's a really good habit to get into.
I couldn't agree more. I love that you're doing it. Yeah.
Yeah. So, and then what are you doing? So you're talking to women, obviously, about like getting their body to a good place to lose weight, talking about exercise, talking about mindset, I'm sure, right? That's got to be a big component of this, of your work.
Mindset's something we start hitting on right off the bat.
Right off the bat, yeah.
Because, I mean, you've done a lot of damage to your body from all those diets. You've also done a lot of damage up here. Or you haven't, but they have. They've ingrained these limiting beliefs, these beliefs that you need to basically starve yourself for your entire life. Even though, we see this a lot, even though your parents did the best they could with the knowledge they had, it wasn't the knowledge you needed, and it doesn't serve you. And I mean, God, I just got off a call with someone that enrolled in our program. She's like, hey, I've been on a diet since I was 14 or 15. And yeah, I know it did damage down here. I listened to a lot of what you say, Joe, but like, my God, I have so many thoughts. Like my brother used to pick on me. My mom used to call me too heavy. Guys wouldn't date me because I was too chunky. And I'm 58 now, and that still sticks with me. So you're damn right. We address mindset. We do it fast.
Yeah. Yeah. Because if that's the mindset you have, it's going to be really hard for your body to break out of that. It's so crazy to me. Our brains, it's not crazy, but our brains control everything. So if your brain is constantly saying, if you've got this story, like I'm fat, I'm fat, I'm fat, your brain's going to hear that and it's going to tell your body, well, that's how we must be. Right. And, so, you can change your brain and be like, I'm healing, I'm healthy, I'm active, I'm strong, whatever it is you want to be, like, to start changing your story to that, your brain's going to hear it. Or I had this one patient that when I first started working with her, she would come in, she had a bunch of things going on, but she would always just her story was, I'm broken. My body is broken. It's constantly breaking down. And she would just, and it was just, she didn't have a good, and so we talked about that. I think in the second visit, I was like, I don't want to hear you say that anymore. Your body's trying to tell you what's wrong. Like your body's giving us these symptoms and it's giving us information on how we can help it heal. And she actually took that. I was really proud of her. She took that and she never said that again. And she really started, I mean, she would have days where she's like, it's really hard for me not to say that because I still feel like that. But she would kind of like started to try to look at her symptoms more as information that we could use to then like, help her get better. But that whatever you're telling, whatever story you're telling about your body hears that. And your brain is going to control and probably will make that come true. I mean, this kind of goes into, if you get into like law of attraction or if you listen to Abraham or any of the stuff, like, I don't know if you're into that kind of stuff, but the energy or that you're vibing at, you're going to get that back, whether it's in your body or your life. So it's good to be, in the higher place. Or Tony Brown, there's so many great, amazing people that can kind of teach us this stuff. But I think it's also great to work with a coach who can help you one-on-one with this too.
I'm a big nerd of all that. I mean, the reticular activating system, what your thoughts are consciously and subconsciously, people that are arguing for their own limitations, we're huge on that.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's amazing when you start to shift those beliefs, mindsets, how much faster things will happen, whether you're trying to lose weight or you're trying to heal a chronic condition or you're trying to get a new job or attract a partner. I feel like it applies to any bucket of life, right? We're kind of here focused on health, but, I think it can, and I like your summit, kind of applied to all areas of life, right? It was not just about necessarily like physical health. It was applied to all different things and mental, emotional state too. Like we can apply this there.
Yeah. So, I mean, we had an entire day devoted to mindset. On our health day, we actually had, she was on my podcast, Jody Lavoie, who is the owner of Widows in the Workplace that helps people with grief and loss. And that was on our health day. And then on Saturday was our bonus day. And that was just a collection of everything that wasn't in the first 5 days. So like relationships, dating, sex, finances, guided manifestation, yoga, you name it. Like I tried to cover everything that I think these women need and don't even know they need, but should. Yeah.
Yeah. I'll just open their eyes to think, hey, this is available out there. That's what I try to do on my show again, is kind of show my listeners, hey, there's this kind of thing out there that could help you with XYZ, or there's this type of healer, or this type of thing. And sometimes I love doing this show. I get pitched by all these like really cool guests. I'm like, oh, wow, I didn't know that was a thing. Like, I want to learn more about that. So I've learned so much. And I think, thank you so much for hosting that summer, because you probably educated so many women on different tools that they can use to, make their lives better, not just their health, but make their lives better. And I think when you can help someone change their lives so they feel better physically, feel better emotionally, they're then going to go do what they're meant to do on this earth. They're going to be their best selves. They're probably going to touch 10 other people, right? So I feel like, the more we can put this stuff out there to educate people, we are actually hopefully changing the world and become a better place. That's
the ripple effect.
That's my mission with this is I hope to help people get better so they can go live their best lives and they can, change the world.
We're on the same mission. The ripple effect of this is infinite. And then one thing that you said is on the podcast, selfishly, you learn because you get these interesting people. Some of the people that I asked to speak at the summit, I was like, yeah, I know you're going to help my audience, but I want to learn from you because you have something I don't know yet and I'm going to take it. And it made me a better coach.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I think every conversation I always learn something. I like that. And I love sharing my analogies, being like, hey, go use that. You might like that. That might be helpful. Or, because I think anything, we're all here to learn and to better ourselves and better other people. Anyways, this has been a fantastic chat. Where can people learn more about you and learn how to work with you or learn about the next summit?
Yeah. So I'm very findable. If you just Google my name, Joe Hoye, you will find me probably anywhere. Instagram and Facebook are my biggest two. And if it's okay with you, feel free to tell me no. If it's okay with you, I would love to give one of your listeners free coaching.
Sure. That'd be great. How does that happen?
So what we'll do is I'll send you a link. We'll put it in the show notes.
Yep.
There will be 4 things. I'm working through this as I talk. 4 things. I'm going to need your name, your phone number, your email. That's how I'm going to contact you if you're the winner. And then the last box will have the question why. And I want a good reason as to why you want to and should win the 3 months of free coaching we're going to give away.
Great.
And when you get in, I'm not going to sell you supplements. I'm not going to starve you. We're going to do everything we talked about today. And I hope to change your life. So let's do that.
Thank you so much. So we'll put all that stuff in the show notes, where to find him, and then we're good. Thank you so much. Fantastic
Thank you. This
chat.
was fun.
Yeah. Thank you guys for listening, and we will see everyone next week.
Thank you for tuning in today. If you enjoyed this conversation, be sure to connect with me on social media and leave a rating and/or a review. This helps grow the show so more people have access to this knowledge that leads to empowered healing. Love and light, and see you next week.